Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Honda Preludes, which is a very beloved and well-known topic around here because I've owned several of these. I love these cars from all generations. I haven't yet driven the new one, by the way. That's on my list. But some of you from the channel who have been around for a bit may remember about 2 years ago I had a Milano Red 1993 Prelude SI. That car has since transitioned to California. It belongs to my friend Mike, who posts about it occasionally on his channel called Oh Yeah About That. I will link to that channel. But today we're going to talk about a car that's one model year newer, and it's a different trim level. This is the VTEC, which was the performance-oriented version of the Prelude with the famous H22 motor. And we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the car, do a walk around inside and outside, and really get to know it a little bit better. And I promise you're going to be shocked at how clean this thing is for having over 188,000 miles on it. But before we get into it, I want to do a couple acknowledgments. First and foremost, if you dig this t-shirt, thank you to Chris for sending this. Chris is a YouTuber who runs a channel called Acura Advice. I partnered with him on an Acura Legend video not too long ago, and he's selling merchandise. So this is a special 1986 version G1 sedan. For those of you who are interested, you can check out his website at acuraadvice.com as well as his YouTube channel. Second of all, huge thanks to my friend Paco for loaning me this Prelude. I first saw this car in mid-February at the Kyusha Club show, and it was a jaw dropper. Long story short, we connected, interestingly enough, through LinkedIn, I think, a couple weeks later. I've now been in contact ever since, and so we orchestrated a weekend where I actually traded him my NSX yesterday for the weekend. So we're doing a 3-day car swap, and I got to tell you, I'm having just as much fun with this car as I do with my NSX. By the way, here's a scaled model of the 4th gen Prelude in front of the real thing here. This one is very similar to what mine looked like, wheels and everything. It didn't have side markers like that, and I did add the spoiler to mine. But I've been a fan of the 4th gen Prelude for a very long time. I'm about to show you how deep my history runs with it. And when I had my 4th gen 93, I acquired some period correct literature, things like this Car and Driver from November 1991. The 4th gen was obviously a big deal when it came out. It took a drastically different approach to design in terms of being more rounded as opposed to the wedge-shaped 3rd gen and 2nd gen with pop-up headlights. And I think they really nailed it. And the curvaceous sort of design language continues all the way to the interior, as you'll see, as the dashboard in this car is one of my absolute favorites of all of automotive design. Here's one more piece of literature that I happen to still have. It looks like January 1995 Car and Driver, which, by the way, was the 4th time the Prelude won a 10 Best slot on the list, and as well as the third time for the VTEC model specifically. So this car was a stunner and it was a performer, and everybody knew it. And that's why today they've become increasingly collectible. Now, my history is pretty deeply rooted. I have to show you, by the way, this is my high school yearbook. I graduated high school in 2000. Gotta love Y2K, but check this out. Here I am with my 89 Prelude SI standing next to it. And where's the caption? Tyson Hughie guards his car carefully. Since his car and keeping it clean is his obsession, he won't let certain people near it. Now, I don't know where they got that comment from or who I wouldn't let near my car, but whatever, it was fun. And that car was the reason why I ended up buying my current 89 four-wheel steer. That is major nostalgia trip every time I drive it. But check out this here. Earlier in the book was a page specifically for cars from our high school. This is my brother over here in his 92 Toyota pickup. They call it Tacoma here, but it wasn't called the Tacoma yet. It was just a Toyota pickup. And he had modified that. He's just a year younger than I am. But here's my friend Jordan, and check this thing out. This was Jordan's Prelude, and it's actually Azure Blue Green Pearl, which is the exact same color as the one that's currently in my garage. And I always loved Jordan's car. I don't know why he decided to stand on his roof like that. Probably not good for your paint job. But anyway, you can see how historically significant the Preludes were back in the 90s. Today, there's a huge community for them. There are forums and meetups and things like that, just like with my other Acura communities. And I got to say, the Prelude is a really special car, and I want to show you all about this 94. And here we have it in its Azure Blue Green Pearl glory is the 94 Prelude VTEC. Got it opened up so you can see that famous engine underneath the hood that runs like a brand new machine. I just can't believe the mileage on this car and how well it performs considering. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of detail in terms of what was done mechanically to the car. I do know, and I'm going to talk about this shortly, some of the cosmetic updates as well as the restoration process that it received, which is above and beyond pretty much anything I've ever done to a car. And those of you who followed the channel for a few years know that I'm a stickler for details, and I really enjoy taking an underappreciated or even unloved car and bringing it back to its showroom fresh glory. And this Prelude is undeniably one of the cleanest fourth generation Preludes I've ever seen, even when they were new. I was around when this car launched. In fact, in 1992, I would have been about 10 years old. And so there was a time where they were pretty common on the roads. And nowadays it's getting extremely tough to find one in any condition, let alone in a condition that looks like this. A little bit of the backstory, at least from what I know about this car, is that it was owned by a gentleman in Southern California before my friend Paco, who I believe acquired it sometime around 2012. And I'm not 100% sure what the condition was on it at that time, but the car went through a comprehensive nut and bolt restoration. And by that I mean, there is a thread on the Prelude Power forums where this person posted updates as they happened in real time to the car over the course of about 7 or 8 or maybe even 9 years. And the opening post, just to give you an idea of the level of care and stewardship this car has had, the post was entitled Her Majesty. So anybody who calls his or her car royalty is definitely someone who takes pride in their machine. So the post goes on many, many pages on Prelude Power. In fact, I'll put a link to that in the video description, but there were 239 posts and updates. And admittedly, I didn't weed through every single one of them, but suffice it to say that things basically started out with a mechanical restoration. I saw the wheels and tires come off. It looks like some work was done to the suspension, and the car, even though it shows I just rolled 188,500 miles today, in fact, I can't get over how seamless the suspension is. There's no creaks, no rattles. The gearbox is smooth. The shift knob is brand new. It's almost like time traveling 31 years into the past, 32 years rather, to 1994 and driving a brand new Prelude off the showroom floor. So long story short, Paco acquired the car in December, and I first saw it parked at the Kyushu Club show in February, was immediately sort of drawn to it just because of the condition, and the rest is history. Those of you who are in the know about the 4th gen Prelude will recognize that it doesn't have the original wheels. These are actually off this special edition Prelude model, and they have clearly been refinished, or at least cleaned up a bit. A few things that you'll notice exterior wise on the car is it does have the JDM one-piece headlights, as well as fog lamps down below with the amber illumination. The car also does have JDM power folding side mirrors, which is an add-on. I'll talk a little bit more about the interior updates when we get to that point. The factory spoiler obviously is a nice touch. I always loved how the Prelude 4th gen has a sunroof as opposed to a moonroof, because it is not a glass panel here, although I learned when I had my 93 that some people have figured out that the 5th gen glass panel works in this car. So if you wanted to convert your sunroof to a moonroof, there's a conceivable way to do that. Some of you will also remember that some 4th gens did also have an electronic 4-wheel steering system, unlike the 3rd gen's mechanical setup. The car has a 4-wheel double wishbone suspension, fully independent, and the VTEC model I just found out too had a little bit larger brakes than other versions. Now the real crown jewel of this car, or really any 4th gen, is this incredible dash, and it was kind of a polarizing topic back when the car was new. Some magazine outlets criticized the 2-tier sort of futuristic wraparound nature of it. Others really loved it. I think it's held its age very well, and I find it to be an attractive sort of space age sort of vibe in this car. And driving it, it is very characteristic Honda in terms of easy visibility for all the critical instruments. Everything is just right there at a glance. And the car has a few special tweaks to it. There's this little compartment down here, must be sort of a JDM accessory. I'll have to ask Paco what that is. Obviously a brand new set of floor mats here that unfortunately I put to use maybe for the first time out of the plastic. It does have an updated stereo. So Carrozzeria, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that right, is a Pioneer subsidiary, and this has a touchscreen setup here. You might have noticed on the back of the car that it does have a integrated backup camera. It's pretty cleverly hidden because it's actually sort of mimicking the spot of the keyhole over there, so you almost never even notice it. In fact, I had to do a walk around before I even realized it was there. As a dedicated sport coupe, there's not a lot of room to talk about in the rear. In fact, it is technically just a 2+2. The center seat here only has a little storage area there. It looks like a speaker there in the middle. So intimate accommodations if you're going to haul people around, but honestly not too bad of headroom back here. One other note on those gauges, it's interesting to note that earlier 4th gens had partially analog equipment there, and by that I mean the speedo and the tach. If I turn the car off here, you see that it extinguishes the backlighting there, but my 93 had analog gauges that stayed up all the time. So this one is a far cooler look to it. Of course, you've got your gas gauge and coolant temperature there, a clock over here, and some warning lamps along the bottom there. Now the upholstery in here has definitely been redone, and it's a really high quality material. It has perforated inserts here and feels like true leather as opposed to some of the aftermarket kits that tend to use mostly vinyl. There are some customizations here to the center console. You've got, looks like Paco's got driving gloves, awesome. But little armrest here, some controls here. It has a power folding or retracting antenna. I found out that this, what looks to be a fog light switch, is actually controlling some under dash lighting. By the way, all the interior lighting has been converted to LED. This is the fog lamp switch for the amber fogs up front. You got your power, standard power window, or power mirror, excuse me, that controls there. Like I said earlier, the shift knob feels like it's brand new, probably one of those rare new off the shelf kind of finds when the car was restored. And otherwise, everything is just very characteristic, easy to control Honda with the switchgear. I better get out of the way here because those sprinklers came on and I am not letting this car get wet. I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up for what I wanted to showcase about this car. Super thrilled to have gotten a chance to drive it. And my main takeaway of this whole thing is the pride of ownership that is so readily prevalent in the Honda community. This car started out as a vehicle with over 180,000 miles, and most people wouldn't spend the time or effort or money to restore it to this level. But a no expense spared restoration has definitely been done here, and that tells me something. It tells me that whoever did it wasn't interested in a return on investment. They were a true enthusiast that wanted to preserve the car for future generations and to showcase it and to bring it back to its former glory. And to me, that's maybe even a more special story to tell than a car that's just been stored away its entire life and never seen the light of day. So kudos to Paco for keeping this thing in the amazing shape that it's in, and especially major props to the prior owner for his work in creating a masterpiece. So thanks for letting me check it out.